What's going on, my fellow Belmonts? It's the Mad Belmont here, and today I'm going to be talking about, of course, some Castlevania games, and not just any Castlevania games, but I'm going to be talking about some underrated ones today. Now, I have a list of not one, not two, not three, not even four. I have 5 games in this franchise that I feel are super underrated. They don't get enough love, they don't get enough attention, and I'm sick of it. So I decided to make a video highlighting these 5 right here. So, without any further delay, let's get right into things, shall we, with the first game that I feel is underrated. The first Castlevania game that I feel is severely underrated here on this list, it has to be none other than Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest. Oh yeah, you knew that when it came to a list like this, I had to include Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest, because angry video game nerd aside, he did have some good points about the game, but a lot of people have taken that review as gospel when really you can tell that whenever he plays that game, there is fun to be had. He just over-exaggerated things for a video review. That's what YouTubers do. And so he did that, and then a lot of people took that as gospel. Do not take it as gospel. Listen to what he said in that review, because there are some great points in there, such as horrible mistranslation, cryptic dialogue that leads to you getting confused and getting lost and not really knowing where to go. But if you have a guide on hand for this game, you will have some of the most fun that you will ever have in this entire franchise. The game is great looking. The graphics still to this day for an NES game look fantastic. The music, one of the best soundtracks in the entire franchise. I will say that right now. Also, the moment-to-moment gameplay, the platforming, the whip, everything feels pretty good in this game. I do like the various environments. I like the various amount of enemies in this game. There's a lot of good in Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest, but it is bogged down by those flaws that have been memed about over the years, especially since AVGN did his video on it. But I'm telling y'all, give this game a God's honest shot. You will have so much fun with it. And if you don't, hey, that's fine. But at least give it a shot, okay? Don't judge a book by its cover before you actually experience it. The next game up here is actually a 2-for-1 special, but you'll see why I say that here in just a little bit. And that is the Castlevania N64 games, Castlevania 64 and Legacy of Darkness. Now, the reason why these games are here is because, again, just like with Simon's Quest, these games suffer from a bevy of massive flaws that were not flaws at the time, but as they've aged, they have kind of started to age like milk as opposed to fine wine. One of those things being the lock-on targeting. I hate it. I think that it is atrociously bad. The hit detection seems pretty wonky too. And the biggest one to me is the platforming in this game is really, really jank. It definitely has a early 3D platforming feel to it, and that's not really to say anything because Super Mario 64 came out, I think, a little bit before Castlevania 64, and it was one of the best games on the N64. But this suffered from them not being Nintendo and knowing what they're doing, basically. So, yeah. With all those flaws in mind, though, I will say that the pros definitely outweigh those cons. The pros being some of the best atmosphere in a Castlevania game, period. This is the closest we will ever get to a pure horror Castlevania with its atmosphere, and also the enemy designs in this game are so badass. Like, let me tell you, it has some of the coolest enemy designs I've ever seen in a video game, okay? And if you don't believe me on that, I have just one thing to say to you. Skeletons on freaking motorcycles. That's it. That is it. That is all the argument that I ever need to tell you that this has some of the best enemy design in a Castlevania game. I mean, seriously, what other horror-themed game out there do you have where you have skeletons on freaking motorcycles? That's not a Marvel tie-in game. I know what you're thinking, okay? I know you're gonna pull a Ghost Rider on me. No, I know that one, alright? I'm talking non-Marvel tie-ins on that one. But yeah, anyway, so I absolutely love these two games with the flaws in mind, okay? But I do get it. If you are just someone who cannot look past those flaws, hey, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But I do want to say that I do think that these games could absolutely benefit from a remake. Konami, if you're watching this, please remake these two games. I made a video talking about that. You can click it in the upper right hand corner. Anybody that wants to go watch that video, please take everything I said in that video into account. But yeah, Castlevania 64 and Legacy of Darkness, which is basically just Castlevania 64 but with a prequel story attached to it, is easily some of the most underrated bits of Castlevania goodness I have ever experienced. The next game up here on this list is Castlevania Lament of Innocence. This is the first of the 6th generation Castlevania games, and in this game you play as Leon Belmont, and you basically go through an origin story in this game for the Belmont clan of vampire hunters. So if you like the Belmonts, if you want to know what got everything started canonically, that is, then this game definitely is a great play in that respect. But also, I do love the gameplay of this game. Combat feels pretty good. This has one of the best soundtracks in the entire franchise. I will say that right here, right now. I think the soundtrack for this game is phenomenal. And also, I love the structure of this because this is made by the same team that made Symphony of the Night, and we have a game here in Lament of Innocence that is the closest thing that we will ever get to a fully 3D Castlevania Symphony of the Night. So if all that sounds appealing to you, you definitely want to check this one out for sure. You can play this either on the original PS2 itself by going out and getting a physical copy, or you can also go onto your PlayStation 3, buy it on PSN there, and download it. I have done that as well. And that's pretty much it for this game. Or you can sit there and shmemulate it on PC, which I have done as well. Alright, so you got 3 different options right there. You got OG hardware, PS2 with a physical copy, you got shmemulation on the PC, or you can go on to the PS3, get it from PSN, and enjoy your time with it on there. There's 3 different options. Pick whichever one is best for you, because I'm telling you, this game is not worth skipping out on, especially if you want to find out more about the Belmonts. So yeah, Castlevania Lament of Innocence. Next up here on this list is a game that, given the previous game that I talked about, you should have already known that this was going to be here, but just in case you didn't, it's Castlevania Curse of Darkness from 2005. This game came out on the PS2 and the original Xbox, and this game serves as a direct sequel to Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse. So in this game, you play as Hector. He is a Devil Forge master, and you go through these different levels, and you are in search of your betrothed because you're worried that something bad has happened to her. And along the way, you get into some craziness, including seeing my favorite video game character of all time and one of my absolute favorite Belmonts. Actually, he is my favorite Belmont. Trevor come along for the ride here. So, with that being said, there is a few different ways that you can play this game. You can play it on original hardware on either the PS2 or the original Xbox, or you can play it via shmemulation over on the PC via PCSX2 or via whatever Xbox Shmemulator is out there. You can play it on there too. And I definitely recommend it because if you like action games, specifically, in my opinion, this feels like a DMC clone, and a pretty good one at that. It has great combat. I do like the Innocent Devil system. That is probably the best thing about this game, is that Innocent Devil system, and then getting the different combinations that you can do with the Innocent Devils in this game. Also, I like the story. I think the story for this one is not only just as good as Laments was, but if you ask me, I think it's better than Laments was. Like, I may be crazy for saying that, but yeah, I like Curse of Darkness's story a lot better, and that's saying something, because I loved Lament of Innocence. So, but yeah, I also think that, again, this has one of the best soundtracks in the entire franchise. Garibaldi Courtyard, for instance, is one of my favorite songs in the entire franchise. And if you have not listened to that, listen to this here just for a few seconds. Oh, sweet bliss. But anyway, so yeah, definitely check out Curse of Darkness via the original hardware or Shmemulation, whichever one works for you. But absolutely, positively play this game, especially if you're a fan of action games like DMC. You will not regret it whatsoever. I promise you on that. Finally, the final game here on this list is, at least for me, Castlevania Harmony of Dissonance. Now look, I know that when it comes to the GBA games, everybody loves to talk about Circle of the Moon, and especially Aria of Sorrow. But I'm telling you, man, Harmony of Dissonance is not a game to overlook. This game is just as fun as those other two games, because in this game you play as Juiced Belmont, and he is going to a castle in search of his friend Maxim. He went up to this castle, and he kind of stumbled into some crap. We'll just say that, okay? Because I don't want to spoil anything. I want this to be as blind of an experience as possible for you. But to sum it up, you play as Juice Belmont. Your friends, you have two friends. They are both in this castle. You've got to go rescue them. And this game right here, I think that as far as the Metroidvania or Igavania Castlevanias go, this definitely has its rightful spot in that lineup, because it does something a little bit unique compared to what the other ones did. So it has a two-castle system here. It doesn't have what Symphony of the Night did, which is just the same castle but upside down. It's two completely different castles with two completely different layouts, and I think that right there really makes it unique compared to something like a Symphony of the Night. Also, I do think that the gameplay is pretty fun. I like the dodging mechanic. I like the combat and the way it feels. And I also just like Juiced as a character. I think he's definitely one of the better Belmonts out there. And I don't see a lot of people mentioning Juiced. It kind of really just rubs me the wrong way, man. Like, Juiced is awesome, okay? And this game definitely shows why he's awesome. So I think that if you play the Advanced Collection, or if you go and get the original games on their original hardware, definitely do not overlook Harmony of Dissonance. This game is phenomenal. Now, it's not on the same level as games like Circle of the Moon and Aria of Sorrow, but I like it, and I think that it definitely deserves a little bit more respect. So definitely give it the respect that it deserves, for sure. So there you have it. Those are 5 Castlevania games that I feel are underrated. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Did I get them wrong? Or perhaps, are there any games that I missed? Is there a potential part 2 in all of this? Let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to discuss it with all of you. And remember, if you enjoyed the video, you might as well give it a like down there, because that's how YouTube knows that you liked it or not. And if you're new around here, consider subscribing. I am on the road to 2K subscribers. I hope to hit that by the end of the year. And if you like my content and want to help me out a little bit, hit that sub button. I post every single week. I tend to focus on Castlevania, obviously, as you can tell by the background. And I also focus on horror games, but I do like to talk about other topics here and then. So if that all sounds appealing to you, hit that sub button. Help me on the road to 2K subs. With all that being said, thank you so much for watching. Have fun on the hunt, my fellow Belmonts. I will see you in the next video, and peace out.